Hello and welcome to Tech Week in View on Megawatt TV, where each week we take the biggest stories, chew them around, spit them out and tell you what we think. Stay tuned. So, how much would you pay for a website domain? A penny? Maybe a tenner? About a couple of £100. How about £3.6 million? Yes, it's quite a lot of money to spend, especially in these credit crunch times, but that didn't stop Toys R Us this week splurging $5 million, £3.6 million, on toys.com, Toys.com. Maybe it's worked, we're talking about it, but surely Toys R Us. That would be better for Toys R Us, wouldn't it? I don't know. I mean, what's the value of having just a website that just says toys? I don't know personally, but certainly someone at Toys R Us thinks it's definitely worthwhile. So this week the internet saw a rumour surface that showed O2 and Orange outraged by Nokia thinking about pre-installing Skype on its new flagship model, the N97. Well, we actually managed to track down O2 and have actually debunked that rumour. O2 still say they're looking at the handset and haven't ruled it out completely. However, what it does throw up is this age-old argument that first surfaced with the Nokia N95 actually, over VoIP, voice over IP services getting onto the mobiles. On the one side, the operators, as you could probably imagine, are pretty, well, scared that all of a sudden we're going to be just using Wi-Fi or data to make our phone calls, and that lucrative phone business, i.e. when you phone me and I phone you and have a chat, is going to suddenly disappear. On the other side, we've got the consumers clearly wanting cheaper prices. So what's the answer? Well, personally, I believe that just, well, charge me a flat rate and give me any amount of calls that I want to a specific country. I'd certainly be happy doing that. It'd certainly make it a lot easier to understand. After all, I remember reading a long time ago, the majority of that billing process and the cost is all down to actually tracking the call. Get rid of that, the call actually isn't that expensive. This week, Amazon decided to tempt people still thinking about buying a Kindle ebook with the option of actually downloading, well, books onto the iPhone with a new application called Kindle for iPhone. The idea, if you're in the US, UK will come to that in a moment, but the idea in the US is that if you, well, haven't got the money to stump up for an ebook from Amazon, or just not really sure whether you're going to want to read books other than on paper, is that you can download them and read them on your iPod or iPod Touch or iPhone. The trouble we have with this is that we can't really see why you'd want to read a book on a 3.5-inch screen that's going to hurt your eyes if you're actually staring at it for that long. And what about the battery life? And, well, what about actually having to pay for content like magazine subscriptions to read electronically? Isn't that what the web is for? I don't know, it's all very confusing. Either way, us here in the UK, the wonderful Brits, don't have to really give a monkeys, because guess what? You can't buy the Kindle in the UK. Neither can you buy the Kindle iPod, iPhone application either, which means that for now, if you want to read a book, you have to stick to some paper. Has the humble DSLR finally met its match? Are we likely to see the beginning of the end for those large cameras? Why do I say this? Well, this week's been PMA, the Photographic Marketing Association trade show, which basically means that anybody who's anybody in the camera world has announced new cameras. There's been lots, from Samsung to Canon to Panasonic to Kodak to, well, pretty much everybody you can think of. But what's interesting is that, well, Panasonic have announced a new Micro Four Thirds DSLR. Olympus have announced when they're going to be launching their Micro Four Thirds DSLR, and Samsung has joined the fray to announce that they're launching a Micro Four Thirds as well. Now, if you're suddenly thinking I'm talking complete gibberish, basically Micro Four Thirds is a new sensor type which allows you to, well, remove the mirrors from a DSLR. So that basically gives you DSLR-like qualities, though theoretically and technically it's not, but it gives you live view. It gives you a smaller case. It gives you, well, just a lot more features. And it's certainly interesting now that we've got 3 manufacturers into the game, whether the days for those big clunky machines that you've seen your friends probably walking around with, whether they're going to be around for much longer. Well, that's it for this week. Hope you've enjoyed the show. Why don't you tune in next time for more news, reviews, tips, tricks, opinions, and much more. I'm Stuart Miles. This is Megawatt TV.